So I'll say Parshas Kisisa, we read of, again, I mentioned this in the virtual drush as well, it's probably it is the most like traumatic and tragic episode of the entire Torah. Chet Egel, I said the golden calf. And the reason, Chazal compare Chet Egel to a kala, right, to a bride who commits adultery underneath her chuppah. In other words, adultery is always a heinous and grievous sin. But to think that the kala is committing adultery right in the moment where the marriage itself is being forged is an overwhelming thing. So Klal Yisrael standing here at Har Sinai with that Kodesh Baruch Hu, they just said Na'aseh v'nishma, right? It's such a moment of spiritual intimacy, spiritual togetherness, and now in a panicked moment, Klal Yisrael resorts to all types of heinous behavior, right? It wasn't just that they built a calf. According to most opinions, the calf was Avodah Zarah. There was also, rampant immorality that was happening around the calf. It was just a fundamental breakdown in every single way. So we know the story. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down, breaks the luchos. But I will say, perhaps the most incredible part of the story is Moshe Rabbeinu's advocacy on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu literally, I will say, I want to point out, this is the moment where Moshe Rabbeinu emerges as the true Manig Yisrael, the true Manig, who advocates and lobbies on behalf of his people. I will say, if you think about it for just a moment, where did Moshe Rabbeinu get that koach from? Right? To advocate for someone or something, you have to believe in them. To believe in them, you have to see something good. They were like bereft of holiness and bereft of goodness and just had it's just such a horrible moment. So if you're Moshe Rabbeinu, how do you go ahead and advocate for them? So I want to show you something amazing. In yesterday's daf, in the beginning of, and this is incredible how everything ties together, but in yesterday's daf, the top of Mem Hey, if you remember again, the Gemara quoted the pasuk, Vayikach Moshe's Atzmos Yosef Imo. Right, the Gemara quoted the pasuk that Moshe Rabbeinu took, literally again, the remains of Yosef with him. The remains of Atzmos Yosef. The Megala Amukos says something so beautiful. He says, in addition, what do you mean, Vaikach Moshe Atzmos Yosef Imo? He says, Atzmos means bones, remains. But the Megala Amukos reads is, Vaikach Moshe es Atzmius Yosef Imo. Moshe Rabbeinu took the essence of Yosef, the Atzmius of Yosef, the gestalt of who Yosef was, he took that with him. And the Megala Amukos says, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I will say it's quite beautiful. What was the gadlus of Yosef? Yosef could have very easily been angry and bitter and resentful and vengeful against his brothers. Right? He could have easily said to them, look at what you guys did to me. You robbed me of everything, of my life, of my dignity, of a future. Threw me into a pit, mamish, like worse than an animal. Fine, it worked out fine. But Lamaisa, look what you guys did. But instead, what does Yosef do? Yosef chooses at the end of the day to let go of the anger, to let go of the animosity, to let go of the bitterness, and chooses to focus on the positive. Meaning, so Yosef goes in and when confronted by his brothers, or I should say, when his brothers are confronted by him, instead of lashing into them, what he says is, Lo atem shalachani, it wasn't you. It was all part of the divine plan. What do you mean it wasn't you? Of course it was you. Of course it was you. It's not you guys. Yes, it is you guys. Yosef was blessed with the power of positive perspective. And that power of positive perspective allowed Yosef to see the situation in a panoramic view as opposed to a tunnel view. And in the panoramic view, he realized that he was part of something much bigger. And that positive perspective allowed him to see the totality of life and the Yad Hashem, the hand of God. That power of positive perspective allowed him to see his brothers in a panoramic view, recognizing that although his brothers did something really terrible, that didn't mean that they were terrible people. Because sometimes even really great people do really bad things. But the really bad thing doesn't make me into a really bad person. It just means I'm a good person who struggles with a lot in life. That was the greatness of Yosef. And therefore says the Megala Mukos, when Moshe Rabbeinu is leaving Egypt, ready to assume the mantle of leadership for Klal Yisrael, Vayikach Moshe es atzmos Yosef imo. Moshe takes the atzmius, he takes the essence of Yosef with him. In other words, if you're going to be a man, if you're going to be a leader, you have to see the good. If you're going to go and inspire people, you have to always see the good, the situational good and the personalistic good. You have to be able to see people in their totality. I will say it is so easy to see a person just through the lens of a current failure. Look at what you did. Look at how horrible this is. Or you can see a person in a panoramic view. And I will say, when you look at any person in a panoramic view, what are you going to find? You're going to find some bad, but often what else are you going to find? A lot of good. That was the godless of Yosef. And Rabbi say, because Moshe Rabbeinu possessed the atzmos of Yosef, the atzmius of Yosef, that's why he was able to lobby and advocate on behalf of them, even in this moment of horrific Aveira. Because essentially he's able to say, this is not the totality of who they are. This is a doozy. This is a big mistake. But it's not everything. It's not everything. There's so much good. There's so much beauty. There's so much holiness. There's so much goodness. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm able to see them in totality. You have to do the same. In Chevra, that's our avodah as well. To take the atzmos of Yosef, to take the atzmius of Yosef with us as well. We all have relationships. And the key to relationships is seeing people in their totality. The key to maintaining positive perspective in life is seeing life in its totality. Moshe Rabbeinu took the atzmius of Yosef every step of the way with him. We should be zocheh to do the same. Shabbos.